Hello students, how are you all? Welcome to class. Today we will learn again something new. So let's start with our lesson. Lesson number 32, The Noble Stag. As we all know, King Brahmadatta of Banaras was extremely fond of hunting. Luckily for him, on the outskirts of the city was a huge forest filled with deer. Among them, there was a mighty stag. One fine day, the king had gone hunting with his courtier. He told his courtier, "If you allow even a single deer to escape, I will punish you severely." So the courtiers formed a tight circle from which no deer could escape. Then they began to beat their stick on the ground to frighten the deer hiding in the bushes and to make them run. The only way out of the circle was through a small clearing where the king stood ready with his bow and arrows. The courtiers were beating their sticks on the ground and shouting when suddenly a stag leaped out of a thicket. The stag saw that the king was standing in the way, so he looked the king straight in the eye and made a dash towards him. The king was taken aback and shot an arrow towards the stag hurriedly. Of course, it missed the mark, but the stag rolled over. Now, there is one thing that you must know about the stag. It has excellent instincts and is extremely good at dodging arrows, whether shot at from the back, front, or even the top. If an arrow is aimed at its belly, it pretends to roll over and then jumps up and runs once the danger is past. So, when the stag rolled over, the king thought that his arrow had found its mark. He lowered his bow and began to walk towards the stag. But the stag suddenly jumped up and shot past the man. When the courtier realized that the king had been mistaken, they started to laugh. Now, the king thought himself to be an excellent marksman and could not bear the taunts of his men. He grabbed his sword and set off into the forest in order to catch the stag. He chased the stag for quite a while and covered a long distance. The stag came upon a hole in the ground that was covered by a rotting tree and filled with slime. From a distance, it could smell the dirty water and so was careful not to run over it. But the king could not sense the pit and fell right into it. After a while, the stag realized that he was not being followed any longer. He understood that the king had perhaps fallen into the pit. So the stag went back to the pit and saw the king struggling for his life. The stag felt very sorry for the king. He decided to save the king's life, even though the king was following him with the intention to kill him. The stag told the king not to worry and to be brave for a while longer. Then he caught a huge rock with his hind legs and lowered himself into the pit. The king caught hold of his neck and the stag climbed out onto the level ground and carried the king to safety. In this way, he saved the king from the pit. The king thanked the noble stag again and again and asked him to return with him to Banaras, where he could have anything and everything he wanted. But the stag did not want anything in return for his help. He just requested the king to rule wisely and well and be kind to animals. Then the noble stag disappeared into the forest. King Brahmadatta then vowed not to hunt or hurt any animal. In this way, the stag taught a king a good lesson to be kind to everyone. Now we'll see lesson number 34 at the bottom of the ocean. The sea is very deep. There are many plants and animals in the sea. Some of them are very small. We cannot see them with our eyes. There are fishes, turtles, and many strange and beautiful animals in the sea. The largest of them is a blue whale. It lives in the sea. There are many different types of plants in the sea. In some places, there are so many that it is like an underwater forest. A very big sea is called an ocean. If we go deep down in the ocean, there is no sunlight. It is dark and quiet. The bottom of the ocean is known as ocean floor. The ocean floor is not flat. Just as we see mountains and valleys and plains on land, there are mountains and plains and also deep trenches in the ocean floor. We can see many deep trenches in the ocean floor. The trenches are so deep that it is not possible to go there, as it is not possible for us to reach the ocean floor. As we see the mountains and valleys and plains on land, they are also there in the ocean floor, and the trenches are very deep, as the caves and the valleys present on the land are also found under the water too. When the top of such a mountain rises out of the ocean water, it forms an island. We can see many different islands near the oceans, such as Andaman and Nicobar, and also Lakshadweep Island are the famous island of India that we can see in our geographical maps. On these islands, people live and survive, as everything is available on this island. So, whenever you see an island, you will remember the islands of India, that is Indian islands, Andaman, Nicobar, and Lakshadweep. These are the famous islands of independent India.